Hello, everybody. Welcome back to today's episode of Roll20 Presents Waterdeep Dragon Heist. Let's continue, shall we? I will let the mods handle the rest of the raffle. Congratulations to whoever wins. We'll let them handle that in the chat, and we will carry on with our adventure. So the next day dawns. The group having been returned to their home and given some new information by Rainier. Makaria, you also have a quest today. You have a quest before you. It's basically like breakfast time. Everybody's eating their rations at the table that you don't have, I guess, so on the floor. But the house is like, starting. You've got some contractors coming in to work on it and fix some of the holes and make sure the floors don't collapse.
We're no longer like collecting water in like pots on the ground.
Yeah, exactly. So what's the plan? Do you want to just head straight to the temple?
Where is the location that I was supposed to like in relation?
Oh,
right?
yeah, let's find it for you.
Because I just like if it's on the way, then I'll be like, I have to stop on the way. And if it's like not even close to there, then I'll make another thing,
Yeah, okay. So you need to go to, let me see. Weird Bottles Concoctions. Got to go to Weird Bottle to meet with Schemo. Let's see. I don't think so. It doesn't say where that is. I think you can just like find it. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's on my map, but
maybe it's like in the market.
Yeah, maybe. It doesn't specify. It just says Weird Bottles Concoctions. In the Trades Ward.
In the Trades Ward.
Yes.
Which is way out the way. Okay, so I'll just have to make a different
run.
Yeah,
the Trades Ward is like way down here. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll go to the House of Inspired Hands and like do all that, and I'll do my thing after.
Okay, sure. Yeah, as long as by sundown you're in the Castle Ward, where the statue that you need to meet is. Okay, all right. So you guys you head out of your house down to Delzorin Street and head west, and you make your way towards the House of Inspired Hands, which is just over here in the corner of Seawatch and Shark Street. Cool. Okay. All right. So the House of Inspired Hands, as you approach it, you see it, and it looks like a cross between a temple. So it has this kind of like, it has columns. It has like a gold dome. There is a sense of kind of piety around the place, as many temples have. A cross between a temple and a workshop. The symbol of Gond, a toothed cog with 4 spokes, is displayed prominently. You can hear the sounds of strange engines kind of running from within. Outside there are people kind of coming and going. Some that look like tradesfolk. You see someone coming in like a gnome pushing a wheelbarrow full of miscellaneous parts coming in. There are people milling about outside the temple and within, and the whole place is kind of noisy. And somewhere behind the temple, some part of the back courtyard is giving off massive plumes of steam that are rising up into the air. As you approach, what's everybody's passive perception?
13.
It's like 12 and 13, I think.
Yeah, it's like 12 and 13.
Okay. All right. All right. So anyone who I think you all see, there is as you get closer, there is a humanoid shape perched on the roof. So looking down, and when you notice it, you see it. It raises an arm and throws something in the air. It looks like a bird. Its wings flutter. It does a few loops in the air, and then starts diving towards you, picking up speed. What are you gonna do?
Let's shoot it out of the air with the longbow.
What? Can I like? Is there any way to make a? You said it's pretty fast. Like, is there any way to make a roll to like see if I can pick up what it actually is?
Well, why don't we roll initiative?
Okay.
Roll initiative and let's see.
Ow.
Yeah. Don't worry about the tokens. I'll just add you manually. Karia, Jewel. 8.
I mean, you just described a bird flying towards a cat, so.
You're like, I wait till it gets here and then I eat it. So Makaria got a 17. Jewel, so fast. So we got an 18. 8 got an 11. And Rin, a little slow to react. It's okay.
Look, it's still the morning. Okay.
Yeah, right. You're like, nah, I haven't had enough coffee. And then I roll for the bird. The bird just goes on a 10. Okay. All right. So yeah, three of you have an opportunity to do something first before it makes its dive bomb. Makaria, actually, Jewel go first, and then Makaria. So Jewel, what are you gonna do? You see this bird
Dive bombing towards us.
Yeah. It's like it's about 60 feet away from you right now.
Ah, shit. I mean, I have. How high up is it?
Like it's 60 feet diagonally. If you
Okay, so it's coming from on top of
the roof.
church, right?
Yeah, someone on the roof threw it.
I would like to. Is there any perceptive of like how big it is?
If you want to use your action to make a perception check, you could. To like eyeball.
I think it's more just instinctually. Is it my size or smaller than my size? But if I need to take an action for it, because I'm going to hold my action.
I mean, you don't have to make a perception check to guess like just the size of something, because it's not like it's huge but very far away, and they're like he's 60 feet away, so it's about the size of like a sparrow, like a regular bird.
Okay, so it is an actual bird. Great. She's gonna like get in a low crouch, and she would like to grab it out of the air. Like she moves a little bit forward, and when it's in jumping distance, I would like to use my action to.
Okay,
try
so
and
you're
grab
gonna ready an action to try to grapple it when it gets to you. Okay, all right.
It's a little butt wiggle, like.
Yeah, right. Get ready to pounce. Okay, Makaria, what do you want to do?
I just want to take a closer look at it to see if I can see like what it is.
Squint against the sun, like.
Yeah.
Okay, make a perception check.
No.
It appears to be a bird.
Cool.
Yeah.
Jewel.
I'm ready.
8.
I will be disappointed if you don't manage to grab
I'll be
me.
so disappointed in myself.
Okay. All right. So, Jewel, you get ready to catch it, and 8 just draws an arrow, fires it. It hits the thing breaks into a bunch of pieces and is destroyed. There are little gears and chunks of metal kind of scatter on the ground in front of you.
Jewel looks so sad. Like her ears like flop down a little bit, and she's just fine.
Yeah, so all these little like silver and bronze pieces have like scattered on the ground in front of you. We see a gnome in a fancy hat. A gear bounces off his head, and he like looks up. Like, what? Yeah. So that was weird. You look up and notice, I think, that the silhouette has vanished.
Well,
That
I wonder
was
what
close.
That was.
I've never seen a bird. They don't ordinarily.
They're not normally made out of metal either.
No, they're not normally
They
made of-
normally explode in feathers and deliciousness.
I'm not animals.
Yeah, I want to go and pick up all the pieces.
Okay. All right, yeah. So you walk over and start picking up the pieces, and this is maybe the first place, 8, where no one looks at you, like no one like cares or notices. Everywhere you go in the city, people turn and stare at the mysterious mechanical man, but no one here cares. Like a big mechanical dude walking around picking up parts off the ground, no one blinks an eye. They just continue their conversations. It's like you're not even here.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Good.
All right. Well, that silhouette may have been what we've been chasing. Man-shaped on a roof and threw something at us, presumably. So we should ask about what it could be inside. Anyone? Better suggestions?
No.
Yeah, it's a temple,
Alright.
so it's open. It's open
I
to.
walk into the temple looking for someone who looks like they're in charge of stuff.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. So you walk in. The inside of the temple has a like a sort of factory smell to it. So you can smell like coal like burning somewhere in the temple. There's various the sort of like grease and sort of like industry kind of smells in the air. A little bit of smoke. The internal hall. It's a big main hall, and it has centered around it. There are other like passageways out on the outside, but centered in the middle of the hall, there are 24 marble pedestals. And these aren't like columns. They're not holding up the roof. There is a mezzanine and like some upper levels, but each of these columns rises to about like chest height on a human, and they all have something sitting on them. And there's a little gold plaque on every one of these columns. And as you walk in, you see the sort of nearest one has a tiny, what looks like a model tower on it. And as you arrive, the little tower, this 4 foot tall tower, starts ringing out the hour. So you hear like bing, 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 and like the doors open, and little brass like figures, clockwork figures, like walk out, and they like bow to each other, and like there's a whole little like scene going on, just in miniature on this pedestal, and each one of these pedestals contains like a different invention.
All right.
Show offs.
This is nothing.
Take that,
My gaze is looking towards like somebody who looks like they're like a priest or something. You know,
It's hard to tell who's a priest and who's like a factory worker or an inventor. Like you look over and you see a guy in a leather apron talking to a woman in like gray robes. And you're kind of like, who do I? It's like walking into a store where no employees are wearing uniforms. So you're just kind of like,
I think I would ask sort of like the nearest person if they knew who was in charge around here at that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there is you see a figure. She is she's wearing a set of robes. She has these kind of like tan robes, and she has 2 sets of like a big set of horns and then a smaller set in front of it that curve back from her head. Her face ends in a draconic snout. And right now she is peering over her glasses, which are sitting on the end of her nose. And she's got a screwdriver, and she's tightening the screws on a little gold plate on one of these pillars.
Excuse me.
And you startle her, and she drops her screwdriver with a clang on the floor. And she turns around, and she's like, oh my, I'm sorry, I was so focused on, I think I've stripped the thing. Damnable screws. And she like picks the screwdriver up off the floor, and she looks at you, and she says, I'm sorry, can I help you?
Yes, I'm looking to ask some questions about something I think may have come from this temple.
Well, yeah, of course. What can I do for you?
A mechanical man was seen on the rooftops near Trollskull Manor when an explosion went off. Swiftly disappeared after that, and the same, well, I don't know if it was the same, but there was a silhouette on the roof that threw something as we arrived.
So you notice that her eyes just kind of glaze over when you start speaking, and she's like leaned slightly, and she's like looking like 1,000-yard staring past you at something behind you.
8.
You turn and look. 8, what are you doing when we cut, like the camera fades over to you? What are you doing?
Muttering to myself about like how frivolous these inventions are, like the little clockwork men, and I'm just like.
So 8, you're standing in front of one of these pillars, a different one, and on it there is a helmet, like a metal helmet, with 2 long arms, like articulated arms that come off of the helmet, and on the end of them are leather gloves. that have been stuffed. And they're on the end of the helmet. So there's two big hands on the end of these metal arms, and it has pulleys attached to the back of the helmet and a clock on the front. And the plaque on the column says "Waking Helmet" on it. And you're just like looking at it when you're looking at it, like shaking your head, and she's leaned over, like staring at you. And Rin, you notice this.
8, I believe our acquaintance here wants your attention.
And she blinks, and she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. That's so rude of me. I wasn't listening. I was your construct. He's beautiful.
I'm not a construct.
Oh my, I'm so sorry. What are you?"
I just take a step back, just let this conversation happen on its own.
I just want to go.
I don't care.
I'm sorry, Ren. Perhaps I can answer some of your questions if you have time for my companions first. An exchange of knowledge, perhaps.
Yes. Oh, yes, of course. Of course. I would be happy to help in any way that I can. I'm so sorry, ma'am. You said something about the roof.
I feel like there's a moment of like good negotiation, like sort of like a little nod to
Yeah,
8
like good
there,
job, buddy.
like,
You learned.
you didn't fucking say something totally ridiculous and stupid like usual. Way to go. And then I kind of get back into this moment. I say, yes, a mechanical man that some have said looks like something that might have come from this temple, seen on a roof outside of Trollskull Manor when an explosion went off.
Oh my.
And I just saw a similar silhouette on the roof of this temple, and it threw something at us. So
No one was hurt, I hope.
someone was killed. 2
Oh,
others
dear.
also.
Oh dear. We at the Temple of Gone have a complicated relationship with explosions, as I'm sure you can imagine. Sometimes it takes exploding things to really get an invention going, but not if someone was hurt. Oh, I'm so sorry. It wasn't anyone you know, was it?
No, but I believe it was someone coming to speak to us, which is why I'm interested in what might have happened.
Right, right.
You don't lend out these creations to anyone, do
Oh,
you?
goodness, no. No, and to be perfectly honest, most people think that they're, well, and she's like looking at 8 again, autonomous. They see a shape with a head and 2 arms and legs walking around, and they think that it acts like a person, but...
That is not my assumption.
Well, exactly. They're not. They're more like marionettes. Some of them can be imbued with a sort of mimicry of life. More complicated ones given orders, a degree of thinking and what have you. But for the most part, we keep them in storage and let them out for the parade or for experiments. We use them for dangerous work sometimes, things we wouldn't want a person doing. In case they lost an arm or a leg or died. Dangerous work.
Things like setting off explosions in the streets.
Well, no, nothing like that. I mean, we tend to try to keep explosions in the workshop. We have safe rooms for these kinds of things.
I assume that you have some sort of list and inventory or something of these creations. They're fairly valuable, right?
Is it possible one was stolen?
Well, I don't know about what caused your explosion, but if you saw one on the roof and it was causing trouble, it's almost certainly Nim. So,
Nim.
And she nods. Yes. Nim. It's short for nimble, right? It's a sort of mechanical man. We don't have the technology to build them here. It was a gift from a wizard in Lantan. When she says Lantan, her eyes like light up a little bit, and she says, "Oh, all the best things come from Lantan. Their clockwork. They have airships. I've never been. I've always wanted to go. Sometimes they'll come here and they'll show us things they've been working on. It's the chosen land, really, but Nim's troublesome. doesn't get along well with others.
Troublesome how?
Mm,
Dangerous, troublesome?
not usually. I mean, the high priest had us lock him up in the attic.
Generally, when people lock things away, it's because they are dangerous or
Well,
valuable.
we take precautions. Anyway, he shouldn't be able.
there.
Yes, he shouldn't be able to get free.
Are you sure?
Well, let's go and take a look. And
I haven't gotten your name. I realize I haven't introduced myself.
Oh.
Rin Stillwater.
yes, of course, Rin. Pleased to meet you. And she reaches out with a scaly claw. I'm
Shake it, like
yeah. Touching her hand. You notice that the like loose hairs on Rin's head kind of like stand up a little bit.
a little electric.
Yeah, and she says, "I'm Valletta."
All right, Valletta. Then please lead the way. Let's meet this Nim. And
Yeah,
see
of
if we
course,
can
of
sort
course.
this out.
And so she leads you upstairs, and we fade to you're in a hallway somewhere up above. I'm kind of imagining the House of Inspired Hands, like the dome in Florence. It's like a big round building,
Yeah,
and there's like
yeah.
upper levels with like other kind of hidden stuff up there. So you're somewhere up in like an attic, basically, of the House of Inspired Hands, and yeah, and so you've come up to the top of this spiral staircase, and Valletta is taking out some keys, and she says, "This is Nim's room. We had a long conversation about whether or not just to shut him down, but he seems, well," and she looks at 8 again, self-aware enough that felt cruel, but he's a troublemaker, so we locked him away.
Does he speak?
He can understand us, and we've developed a sort of sign language, but no, he wasn't gifted with that. And she has the keys in her hand, and she's like, well, let's go in and talk to him. And she puts the key. So you come to the door, and the door is locked, and it's got a lock on it, and she puts the key in the lock, and she turns it, and nothing happens. And she says, oh, that's odd. I must have the wrong key. She takes the key out. She like puts another one in and turns it. I don't know what's.
Jewel like immediately goes and looks.
I was gonna say like
figure out.
we'll take a look at this.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Mm.
You want to
Broken lock?
Make an investigation check.
Yes. She knows her way around some locks. Maybe. 13.
Okay. The lock. So most locks, if the lock is as old as like the door or as old as much of the stuff you've seen around here, most locks have a degree of like scuffing around the keyhole, right? Where people are not looking and they're putting the key in and they're banging on the edge of the keyhole.
Yeah.
This lock has none of that. It looks like brand new, pretty much.
Did you recently replace the lock?
No, we would have replaced the keys. I don't.
Someone recent, and then she just points at it and she's like, "Someone recently replaced the lock."
Oh dear, that's troublesome.
She immediately, like, without asking, Jewel's gonna pull out her thieves' tools and be like, "I'll get it open," and just.
Okay, yeah, you want to give it a try?
I would like to give it a try.
Pop
Okay.
it open.
Good luck.
Open this.
Wait. Before you do it, ability check, is that
This yes, you could use your guidance on this.
I want to get into all of their secrets, so I will like brush up against a Jewel and just be like, and there's a little bit of like her hand looks like it's just like a skeleton hand for a second, and then it's like gone.
Yeah, I mean, there's verbal and somatic components, so this is the full-on Baldur's Gate, like waving and chanting.
I mean, but like somatic doesn't have to be like it could just be simple. It's a cantrip, right?
It's like on like her shoulder, you like draw a rune or
yeah,
something.
but the idea is that spells can't be concealed. So like everyone sees.
No. I'm not trying to conceal it. I'm just like being really like I don't really care, but like it would be funny if I'm just being.
When you cast the spell, Valletta like shivers, and is just like ooh.
Okay.
And then just eyeballs Makaria.
What?
The D4, 18.
18 is not sufficient to pick this lock.
Crumble, 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 crumble.
Yes,
crumble,
you're like,
crumble.
and that means it's like it's a serious lock.
Are all your locks this good?
And she
Looks like you could use some more practice.
she chuckles and she says, "Well, I mean, if it's a Gondish lock, then yes, but typically our locks are much more ornate than this, complicated. You know, anyone can make a simple deadbolt or a padlock.
As much as I'm enjoying the academic discussion about locks, there is a lock you can't open on a door to a creature that has autonomy of its own, probably doing whatever it wants.
I'm sure that 8 could open the door.
Oh no! I can't." And she's like, she turns to A and she's like, you can't damage the door.
You make so many things here, and you can't make another door.
Well, we can.
Is there a window into this room?
No. If there were, he would just be able to come and go as he pleased.
I mean, the window could also be
It's
whatever.
what the lock is for, clearly.
And she knocks on the door. So like, she's like, "Nim,
Like puts away her thieves' tools.
Nim, are you in there?" And you hear like a rustling on the other side, and she sighs. "Nim, open the door." And there's just silence. And
I like whisper.
Please.
I whisper to Jewel, and I'm just like, it looks like you could use a little more practice.
Fine, I'll practice by getting into your room.
There's no lock on my door.
Well, I'll install one for you, and then I'll constantly wait a minute.
Actually, I think my door is the one that's broken halfway. It's like a.
So while the two of you
Anyway.
are having this whispered conversation, Valletta is like knocked on the door again, and she's like, Nim, open the door," and there's quiet, and she looks at you, Rin, and she says, "He can understand me. I know he can, but he knows my voice. He's not going to listen. Maybe you could try."
Nim, we're here to speak with you. It would be agreeable if you'd open the door. Please.
Yes, Nim, and if you don't like these idiots who contain you, you could always come work for us.
I don't know if you're helping or making Rin roll this at disadvantage. Rin, roll a persuasion check. And yeah, Makaria's trying to help.
I mean, he wants his freedom, obviously. So
It doesn't matter either way. It's a 9.
Okay. Yeah.
wow, icky.
So there's no sound, and she turns to you. Valletta turns to you, Rin, and she says, "This is the problem with giving them autonomy. They don't listen."
I mean, that sounds like children anyway. We should just
Please
clearly
be
stop having
very
babies.
careful with how you phrase that kind of sentiment.
Oh.
Yes, 8 is very fond of their autonomy.
Well, I mean,
Like
it's
their autonomy to break down doors, even though people ask them not to. Right, 8?
and she looks at you, 8, and she says, "Oh no, of course you're different. I mean, you're clearly some kind of pseudo organic. You're not like Nim. He's interesting, well built, full of exciting innovations in the field, but he's a bit of a prick." So
I was built to kill humanoid races. I have a little bit of me as well. Please,
she
I
shakes.
would like to open this door.
She shakes her head when you say that, and she says, "Well, I mean, we can't fault your programming, and yes, it's clear you're built for combat. I mean, look at you, the tendons you can see there. You must be very strong."
Valletta, if I may, I feel that this line of conversation may lead us in places we don't want to go. Here is my...
Oh, you should try again, Jewel, while they're not looking.
I mean, she doesn't care if you want to try to pick the lock again. Yeah.
Here's my suggestion. Are you the person most senior and in charge of this matter?
Oh,
If not, then maybe somebody else has a master key, the kind of thing that might be able to open something like this, or a Gondish device that opens any lock. I don't know.
you see her eyes widen a little bit, and she says, "Well, Initiate Floon does have some kind of lock opening device he's been working on."
As soon as she says that name,
please open the
Jewel
door.
try and unlock this
Right.
Floon.
And yeah,
No
I mean,
fear.
if you want a Gondish lock opener, it's like, the size of a small wagon and comes with all kinds of attachments.
Oh. God, this is gonna
you're
probably-
still being thwarted by.
I mean, I think I still have it, right?
Oh no!
I mean, I could have done it again, but like
yeah, you can do it again.
a
I assume.
19, it's probably 20 or higher, which is crazy.
Yeah, that's what I assumed.
Yeah, you're
But
still
like,
working
you
at this.
rolled a 9.
This is
You-
this is without
Plus 7 on my thieves tools.
this is without
Very
question.
good at them.
This is without question the most like impressive lock you've ever seen.
Jewel is like clearly making like a.
Jewel, I really thought you were better than this.
I'm going to use these to very carefully unlock your physical body. It'll start. It'll be like it.
Yeah, I mean, you can like this is the thing about this system. There's no like you can just keep trying until you get it. It just depends on how long it takes.
Just shove them in there. I'll use your thieves.
So while Jewel is working on this, Valletta has become distracted with 8, and so she's like, so you said you were built to kill, is that right? Are we talking about? Are you a frontline fighter, a member of an infantry, a siege breaker? What's your purpose?
My purpose is to stand, have thick armor, carry a shield, and absorb volleys of arrows, such that others might be protected behind me.
Fascinating. And if you're damaged, are you capable of self-repair?
Yes.
And her eyes widen. She's like, God be praised. You're a miracle.
Not God.
And she says, what do you mean?
House Caniff.
I'm afraid I haven't heard of them.
No.
Are you from Calamshan?
No.
Well, regardless. And she like gives you a once over. You're a miracle.
I appreciate the sentiment, I think.
I would love to see you in action.
You could if you allow him to break down the door.
And she turns and scowls at you, and she's like, well, don't be foolish. She's obviously designed to kill organics. That is right, isn't it?
So if you prefer that, there's another option.
And she turns back. She turns back to you, and she says, why didn't they build you with claws? Or scything blades of some kind? I mean, flesh responds more readily to a sword or a knife than it does to bludgeoning force. I suppose that's why you have that. And she points. So they give you hands so that you could be refitted with different equipment. Of course.
Yes, in the same way that a sentient thinking person is refitted with what they put in their hands, you need to be very careful about how you're having this conversation. I get that you're very interested, but
and she turns
don't
to
make
you.
8 uncomfortable.
She turns to you, Ren, and she says, No, not at all. The gods build every person with a destiny, a purpose. For most of us, it's to simply reproduce, have children, lay eggs, or whatever. But Gond, and this house Caniff, which is clearly blessed by Gond, they've built an entire people with a very specific purpose. Can't you imagine what that would be like to be born and to be told right away, this is your life. We made you for this. This is all you ever need to do. There would be none of that questioning or worrying, none of the existential trauma that comes with being a person. This creature, this magnificent miracle, was built to do one thing and one thing only: to kill. It's fascinating. And she turns back to you, and she says, "What's your name?"
Shrugs.
But you must have a designation. You worked in a unit.
8.
Right. And you still call yourself that here, separated though you are from your people.
I haven't come up with anything I prefer.
Good enough. We don't often get to choose our names either.
Perhaps I will.
Yeah, and like while we're having this conversation, Jewel and Makaria, if you want to keep playing the open the lock game.
Yes, I
You
do.
can roll a
I'm teasing
13
Jewel
or
at this
higher, or
point.
maybe the bless. Oh gosh, let's keep going.
I'm definitely being like, oh, you're not good enough. Like
So-
in the background, like,
There you go. Okay. So I think this is great. So we end on a kind of ominous question. She says to 8, she says, so are there more of you? Are you some kind of vanguard for an invading force? clunk, and the lock opens. So you finally get it.
Just like, I didn't need your stupid blessing.
Yeah,
Backs
so
up her
the
door.
lock opens in the door. You hear some like sound on the other side, some like random sort of clattering, and then yeah, everybody turns to the lock, and Jules' excited meow, and yeah, and they turn, and she Valletta laughs, and she says, "Oh, you got it. Nice work."
All right.
She
well,
she gestures.
Yep.
and I suppose I'll go through the door if it's open.
All right. So you push open the door, and beyond, illuminated by a gas lamp, there is a small room. This is a cluttered. It's somewhere between a storage space and a workshop. So at the back, there's a big desk, a big wooden desk, scuffed and ancient, a workbench. There are tools laying on it. There looks like a disassembled. It looks like one of those anatomical diagrams of a bird. So it's like got the wing and the bones and stuff, but it looks like the bird isn't finished, and it's made out of bits of wire and mismatched cogs. And so that's laid out on the desk, and scattered all throughout the room are other bits and bobs of finished and unfinished mechanica. So you see a few kind of marionette-looking, kind of limp humanoid figures crafted out of what looks like scrap metal, bits and pieces of like a telescope lens in a single eye in this like cyclopean body. You see a few sort of there's a clockwork cat that is sitting in its head, just sort of turning and clicking back and forth. There are some beakers and burners of various material along one wall, and the whole place just like, seems like cluttered with junk. But there's no immediate sign of Nim. And Valletta kind of looks past. She's standing behind 8 now, and like looks past him, kind of into the room.
Doesn't seem to be here.
And she,
I never thought. I've always been. Wait, an army of these things would be useful. Is that what you were, 8?
Yes.
Was it impressive? I bet it was very impressive. I bet you brought death to everyone around you. That would have been something to see.
Anymore.
Well, you said that this creature doesn't speak.
She nods, and she kind of like looks past, and she says, "There's only one way in or out. He must be hiding."
And I step like into the middle of the room.
Yeah, you walk into the room.
Make my intentions like.
So
clear.
we see, as an audience, we see this. Rin doesn't. But as you walk in one of the piles, we see laying kind of limp with its head to one side, a figure made out of brass, and it looks unlike everything else here. It doesn't look like it's kludged together from junk. It's wearing a reddish orange tabard, and it's got a hat kind of like tilted down over one eye, and it has a bronze like curling mustache and a goatee, and it's lying off to one side, and we see a lens open on its face and like track you as you go across the room, and then zip shut again.
Nim, we're just here to talk with you. There's some suspicions going around town that you might be involved in some dangerous things. And I'd like to get a full scope of the situation. I'm not here to do anything else. Just talk. Let's have a conversation best we can.
And yeah,
Sort of
make a persuasion check.
in the middle of the room here. 20.
Nice. Okay. All right. So from behind you, you hear a clattering as that very self-same construct raises itself up out of the pile of stuff. I'll show you a picture.
Like turn around, but not too fast as to look like I'm trying to do anything.
Yeah, and it
Whoa, he's got Ishi's hat.
Yeah, it moves. Nim the Nimblewright moves as if we animated it in stop motion. It raises, but not from like its legs. Like it seems to be like pulled up from the floor by its chest. and its limbs all move in a sort of clicking, like stutter stop motion when it moves. It has fully articulated hands, which it uses to sign something to Valletta, and Valletta turns to you and says, Rin, 8. She doesn't know Makari or Jules' name.
The other two.
Others. This is Nim. And Nim does like a little like clockwork bow.
Pleasure to meet you, Nim. Now, I'll just cut right to the heart of this. I've heard that you can understand what I'm saying. Yes?
And Nim like nods.
Were you present on a rooftop near Troll Skull Manor recently at the scene of an explosion?
He makes a gesture shaking his head and like brushes his shoulder. And Valletta says, now Nim, be honest. And he makes another kind of dissembling gesture with his hands. And he says he doesn't remember.
Ah, he doesn't remember.
How does, I mean, you said that you didn't make them, but how does this being retain memory that they may slip from its mechanical mind?
Well, it's actually quite interesting. There are a series of servos, and she like starts to explain to you in a way that you will never understand.
I blink repeatedly.
I think there's a moment of like clearly you're just having trouble recalling. That's fine. What about moments ago on the roof? I think that might have been you. Looks very much like one of your projects over there that got thrown at us.
And he turns and looks. He looks at the half finished bird, and he walks over to it, and he like picks it up and holds it in his hands, and he kind of like just looks at it, and he looks at you, and he signs something at Valletta, and she looks at it, and she says, yeah, she says, did you do what they said? Did you try to hurt them? And he shakes his head and like puts his hands up like I didn't mean it like that. Like that's not what I meant.
It wasn't a harmful device. I'm sorry, we're a little nervous.
He makes a sign, and she says he says that he thought you were here to punish him for, and he's signing and she's translating. What do you mean, your creation? Nim, what have you done? And he makes a gesture like he doesn't, he's like trying to get her to back off. And she says, Nim, you know it's not allowed. And he like gestures again, and you can see he's panicking a little bit, and he's gesturing like trying to get her to back off, and like I didn't mean to.
Like I'm gonna try. I want to diffuse the situation between translator and translate by sort of like stepping into the middle of it, and saying there's no need to be concerned about the rules of this temple here in this discussion. We're here just to find out what happened. That's all. We don't want to do anything or harm you or bring any consequence down on your head. It's just that this creation, if I'm reading what I'm hearing right, could be dangerous to other people. And whatever motive you had for making it, I know being alone can be difficult here in a room by yourself for days on end. I get that. I've been there. I can see what kind of motivation you would have. Is it another one like you? So
Valletta interrupts you, and she says, he knows it's not allowed. We have a rule. Constructs are never allowed to create more constructs. That can lead to some very, very bad things. And she casts a sidelong glance at 8, like, I wonder if he can make more of him. And she turns back and she says, he says he was lonely, that he wanted friends, and that he's been, and she grabs his like notebook, and he tries to stop her, and she grabs his notebook off the table, and she's flipping through it, and she shows him, and there's pictures in it of the kind of like Vitruvian man, but it's a robot, and like she taps it, and she says, you know this is not allowed, Nim. And he shakes his head and puts his hands up like I know, but I had to. And he's making some gestures that are clearly like apologetic. And
perhaps if he wasn't locked in a room by himself all the time, he wouldn't be so lonely.
And Valletta turns and scowls at you, and for the first time, I think her nostrils kind of like flare, and there's like flickers of electricity. She turns at you and she says, "You don't know what you're talking about." And she turns back to Nim and she says, "There's going to be consequences for this, Nim. You understand, don't you?" And he's shaking his head like, "Don't." And she takes his book. And she says, "We gave you these things so you could keep yourself busy, things to tinker with. We let you build your little birds and your toys, but this isn't allowed, Nim, and we're going to have to take away your tools." And he like it grabs her robes and is like pleading with her, and she pushes him back.
This is no good. I want to try and get in the middle of this. I don't want to like hit anyone or escalate too far, but I'm gonna step forward and like, after the like you don't know what you're talking about, and then this argument sort of happening, try and separate the two of them because they're like physically clinging to each other, right?
Yeah, like he's like trying to stop her, and she's like, "No, I'm taking your stuff. You can't be allowed to continue."
No, like if I can, I want to try and get in the middle of them, and turn to her and say, "You took him on, didn't you? He was brought here by someone and left here alone with you, I assume, or with the temple. What don't I understand about locking something in here that can think for itself for?"
And she shakes her head and she's like, "It's not like a person. It can't think, not like you or me. It just thinks that it can. It doesn't feel."
And what's the difference?
It's not going to suffer.
And
what's the difference between thinking and thinking you can think?
This is what happens. We have to keep an eye on them. Keep them here so people don't get hurt. Whatever Nim made,
I'm pretty sure he made it because they made it and he was locked away alone in this room by themselves. Would you do the same thing to an animal and not expect it to bite back?
And she turns and she says, "Yes, I would keep a dangerous animal locked up. That's precisely what I would do, because if it got free, people would get hurt. That's why you're here, isn't it? Nim's creation got loose. Now people are dead, and that's your fault, Nim." And Nim is making like a sign, but you don't understand it, and she's not translating anymore.
And we are here to solve that problem. You're right. There have been mistakes made on all sides, I'm sure, but this isn't the time to debate that now. There's something running about that we need to take care of.
Yes, there is,
question.
And you should.
What is the stated punishment for disobeying you and creating another one of its kind? What will you do to this creature?
And she looks at him and turns to look at you, and she says, "Well, it will depend. There'll be a tribunal. We'll have to decide. The high priest will make a decision."
There's a very easy way to prevent them from ever doing that again, isn't there? Turn it off.
Well, yes, decommission is on the table, but an asset...
If you really think that this creature is not sentient...
It's not a creature.
Then turn it off.
And she turns and she says, I know this can be confusing for you because it looks like it can think and that it's having feelings, but it's
I think you're the one that's confused. If it's creating trouble, turn it off. If it's not a sentient creature, then disable whatever keeps it moving. If indeed it is a sentient thinking creature, then you need to treat it better than this, or you will deserve everything that it comes.
So when you say that, she laughs and she says, "Oh, that like we treat sentient creatures. If someone is responsible for the murder of someone else, what does the law say? They're locked away or killed. Dangerous people are treated worse. We at least recognize that Nim has some value as an object."
Neither of these things is going anywhere. This conversation is academic and pointless at this point in time. The thing we need to discern, Nim, I say addressing Nim directly, like, I'm not here to cast judgment on you. I understand being lonely. I've been there. What I need to do is learn more about what you've made and know where it might go or who it might be working for or what it might be doing. How does it feel about people? Tell me about your creation.
So Nim signs for a bit. Valletta doesn't like live translate, but she nods and shakes her head and kind of makes sounds as though she's like as she responds to what he's saying to her. And she says, Nim built this construct months ago and has been trying to teach it ever since.
Not a good student.
But evidently it's vanished. And it's been out in the streets a good month or so now. Is that right, Nim? And Nim like nods. Doing God knows what. Causing trouble. Obviously killing people. And who knows? This kind of thing, when they're built in Lantan, they're built by experts, craftspeople. Nim's creation, it's flawed, dangerous, unpredictable.
Nim, does your creation have a name?
And Nim shakes his head.
All right. So it's outside of your influence now, outside of your control.
So Nim shakes his head and he shakes his hands and he walks over to one of the, like, he's got a bunch of boxes and stuff. Walks over to a box, chest, and he opens it up and he takes out a device. And I think I have a picture of it, but I wonder if it's weird looking. And I would love to be able to show it to you, but let me see if I have it in my handouts. He withdraws a device that looks kind of like an umbrella, but kind of like a pistol. Let's see here. Waterdeep Panza. It doesn't look like it. I will attempt to describe it to you. So it's let me check real quick in the art hands out. Here we go. I do have one. Here you go. There it is. So
okay.
he withdraws this strange object and he holds it out, and she says to you, he says it's a nimblewright detector. He built it just after, and he's signing to explain, just after his creation escaped. He had planned to go out and find him using the detector.
I see.
Well, we can't allow that. You're not leaving the temple now. And Nim nods and is like an apologetic gesture.
Does it detect you?
And Nim, you can sense even in his sign language, there's a sense of pride in like, and he says it's calibrated.
So this will help us find your missing creation.
And he nods, yeah, and gestures like,
do you mind if I take it?
Yeah, he's like, give it to them. And Valletta looks at him and looks at you and says, so you'd be willing to seek out this irregular creation?
I think it's in our best interest to do so, and the best interest of the Temple of Gond. That's something that it was created within its walls.
I can make it
around.
She says, I can make it worth your while. If you'd be willing to destroy the thing, I could see clear to pay you for it. How does 500 gold sound?
To me, it sounds good.
And Nim can't make facial expressions because he doesn't have that. Like, his face is a bronze mask, but his head is like turned to Valletta and is like gesturing somewhat frantically. And she looks at him and she's like, quiet. Which is ironic because he's perfectly silent.
I'm assuming he doesn't want us to destroy it, which is...
What he wants is irrelevant. What the temple wants is that you go and decommission this thing before it hurts anyone else. I'm sure the lot of you could use the gold.
All right. We'll take the detector. 500 gold if it's destroyed, and we'll bring back something to prove it.
Good. Well, that's settled then. And she turns to Nim, and she says, and as for you, I'm going to have this place cleared out. There'll be no more tinkering for you, at least until we can review what you've done, decide what to do with you. And Nim is kind of dejected now. He's like, makes a gesture like, fine, like whatever. And he just kind of like, again, like it's like the strings are cut. He just kind of like flops down on a pile of junk. And you can't tell if he's like turned off or whatever, but he's just kind of like, meh, and just like flops down. And she turns back to you and she says, thank you so much for coming here. We would never have known. That's the trouble with these things. It's not just our job to make inventions or to hold parades with mysterious mechanical men. We have to keep an eye on dangerous technologies. Things like this, they can get out of hand if they're not cared for.
Yes, and we'll take care of it.
You can tell she's not totally like certain yet. She kind of looks at you like, we'll see.
Well, if we don't bring anything back, then she doesn't have to pay us, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, she nods and she says, see that you do.
One last thing before we go. Either kill it or admit to yourself that you've been keeping a sentient being enslaved for all of these years.
She scowls at you and she says, go back to the city of the dead, Kelemverite.
I exit the situation before Makaria can.
Yeah. Do you take Makaria with you, or are you like, come on, honey?
Whatever. If she wants to say it on her own, that's fine by me. I just don't want to be associated with her barbs.
No, I wanted to make that last like, and then like walk off like I, know everything.
Yep. Okay. All right. Jewel, are you going to try to steal anything before you leave?
Sure thinks about it.
Mm-hmm.
Just gives her stink eye, and it's just like, I hate you and everything that you have said today.
Okay, you start.
But she mumbles all of that under her breath. Just sounds like meow, 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 meow.
Okay, so as the three of you leave, 8, before you turn to go, Valletta like puts her hand on your wrist, like to stop you, like I want to talk to you, like let your friends leave.
Yeah, 8 flashes, like as soon as she touches him, the like Malcolm's face just goes red.
Yeah.
For a split second, then he goes back to normal.
She says quietly, and you're just standing in Nim's room, and she says to you, I can imagine out there in the city the way they look at you, like you don't belong, like you're a toy or a tool, not a person, not a miracle. But here in the House of Gond, we would see you for what you are. Wherever you came from, whatever it is you were built for, we would find you a way to see through to that purpose. The Temple of Gond has many enemies. We could find a use for you here, Aid. One you won't find anywhere else in Waterdeep.
It was so much simpler when I didn't have to think about my purpose. You're right. But now I have to go sort out this problem.
And she says, of course, Gond has given you a program. You must follow it, of course, but I hope that your path brings you back here to the temple. There's so much we could learn from each other. And there's a moment where, and this is great because she's a bronze dragon, like a dragonborn. There's this like look in her eyes that is exactly the same as that like I want treasure look that the dragon had before, right? So she's saying this like for you, but some part of her is like, he must be mine. Like there's this deep possessive like feeling that you get from her as she like looks at you like you're not an object, but like you could be something significant for her. And she looks at you like something to be possessed.
And 8 very gently like removes the hand
Yeah.
because it's probably still there.
Oh yeah, she definitely is just like clutching your yeah, your wrist.
And yeah, they leave very, very kind of slowly. and
Yeah.
deliberately.
Okay. So as you're leaving, there are a group of, I think the scene that we get is we stay long enough in this scene as you go. We stay long enough in this scene to see some other Gondish like initiates show up, and they start packing up all of Nim's stuff into crates and like dragging it out of his attic until the shot is just Nim lying like puppet limp, leaned up against the wall in an empty room, the floor like scratched with drag marks, maybe like a few errant cogs laying kind of on the floor, and then the door is shut, and there's just like he's just kind of like limp against the wall. So the group of you are outside the temple of Gond. You're Rin, I think you were given the nimble right detector. So you have this weird device in your hands, and you're standing outside of the temple. And anybody who doesn't have inspiration, take it for the scene.
Yay.
Yeah. So you walk outside, and back out here, the scene has changed dramatically, right? It's like you're back out in the sunshine, and people are talking and laughing, and I think there's a group of people standing around watching as one of the inventors is trying out a new invention. And we see what looks like a like you know those robots that we're like trying to teach to walk, but they have the kind of like janky like wobble. There's like one of those, but it's made out of brass and wood, and we see it try to like take a few steps and then fall over and then flip over on its back. And there's a bunch of laughing as one of the inventors is just like shaking his head and looking at his plans like, oh, that shouldn't have happened. And so we see that scene as we pan across to the group of you, and you're walking down the front steps of the temple.
Yeah. I think I turn to the rest of the folks and be like, we just need to get some distance from this place, and then we'll talk about what we're going to do.
Sure. Well, I have business in the trades ward, some shopping to do. So if you want to head that direction.
Sounds good. We can meet back up with you if that's what you want.
Or you can meet back up with me, I suppose, if you don't want to go shopping.
I just assumed that you had some business to attend or something. Usually when you say I'm going somewhere, you tend to go there by yourself.
Yeah. And
That's
going-
only when I'm getting
I'm
drunk,
going to
because
get
none
drunk.
of you are any
I'm going to
fun.
get drunk. I just assumed this was code for I'm going to get drunk.
Oh, no, I'm actually going shopping, and not just for wine.
Ah, well, all right then.
That sounds like fun.
Let's
Could you,
make our way.
Jewel, your skills were a bit sloppy back there. Maybe you should practice stealing things while we're wandering about.
She gives you this look. It's like the way a cat looks at you. You're like, sure.
Preferably wine.
Thanks for the advice.
Of
I
course.
don't know what I would do without you.
Neither do I.
Okay. All right. So you're gonna head to
Yeah,
to Weird Bottles
bottom.
Concoctions. Is anybody going with Makaria?
I think we
yeah.
all
Oh,
are.
you're all gonna go? Okay. All right.
Trade
So
ward.
we cut to the trades ward. Now we haven't seen the trades ward before. It is noisy and brightly colored, and there are shops everywhere and people coming and going with bags and with carts. And this isn't like an open market where you would buy spices. This is like finished goods. So there are all of these shops with all their stuff in the windows. There are people like criers standing in the corner, like, shouting for the various businesses. And we find the group of you standing outside of a shop called Weird Bottles Concoctions. It does not have a display window. The sign over the door is a bottle, an uncorked bottle with bubbles coming up out of it. And as you approach, we hear the door's opening, and a couple of people are coming out, and they're talking.
I feel like at the signage, there's this moment of like, I thought you said this wasn't about getting weird. Like Weird Bottles Concoctions.
There are other ways to alter consciousness than just by drinking alcohol, my dear. Anyway.
Oh, I'm very much aware. Thank you.
Come on. And like I enter. So sorry, I forgot what kind of potions was I supposed to be getting?
Potions of mind reading.
4 potions of mind reading. Right.
Okay, so you walk in. The inside of the shop is it's like a combination between like a curio shop and like a brewery. You can smell strange chemical scents and like floral scent, like a bunch of mix of smells from the back room, the workshop. But out here, it's like, I guess, like an apothecary. There are shelves lined with bottles with various labels. There are circular bottles, there are bulbs, there are tall, thin bottles, and they all have different strange looking fluids in them. And at the back, you see a man sitting at the desk, and he's got a bottle, like a circular bottle in one hand, and another one, and he's slowly pouring, one eye closed, pouring. And I have a handout. You see the proprietor, Schemo Weird Bottle.
Oh,
He is a dark skinned gnome. He has long pointy ears, a beard, and he is currently pouring this. There we are. And he whoop, and he puts the bottle down and he looks up and he's like, customers. Hello there. Hello. Welcome to Weird Bottle Concoctions. What can I get you? Need a potion?
I need 4. Actually, I think you should have them set aside. I ordered them earlier. Potions of mind reading.
And he looks around and he's like, Ixnay on the mind reading. Yes, I have your special order. That's a very good joke about potions of mind reading. Just stay here. And he gets up and he walks into the back.
I give Macaria this look that's like, yeah, this definitely isn't an errand you had to run. 100% like, just come in a shop, definitely.
I'm not looking at you because I'm looking at Jewel, and I'm like,
Jewel just is probably not even paying attention to you, and then like eventually catches your eye and just sort of rolls her eyes and like looks around.
The shot of Jewel is Jewel's face reflected in all of the like various bottles up on the shelves.
Question: is there an empty bottle on a table somewhere?
There's like a mostly empty one because he just poured the contents of this bottle into the potion. He took that potion into the back with him, so it's got like a little residue on the inside of the bottle.
That's fine. Jewel's gonna go up to it, and she's gonna just make eye contact with Macaria and just
start sliding it off the. Macaria, do you stop her? So Jewel's like, nudges it slightly, nudges a little more. You don't do anything?
Smash.
Okay,
No.
It falls on the floor, and you hear a thump in the back, and then like, God damn it. And Schemo comes back, and he's rubbing the back of his head, and he's got a little case, a little coffer under his arm, and he comes out and he's like, the hell was that noise? You break it, you bought it. And he looks around.
Break what?
And he looks on the floor, and he's like, hell. You're lucky it was empty. There's some very dangerous concoctions in here.
I'm very klutzy. I'm so sorry.
And he looks down and he's like, well, we're all friends here, so I guess I won't charge you for it. And he looks down.
It was empty.
Yeah, well, glass it's not free, you know. I'm running a business here, not a charity.
You're right. I'm so sorry for my friend here. And I look at you and I'm just like...
And besides, if you and your goons are just here to wreck the place up, I paid you already. 2 weeks ago I paid. And I only have to pay once every month. So I'm paid up. I know I am.
Of course. We would never, ever request more money. No.
Well, sure. That's
anyway,
what you said the last time.
Those potions.
Right. Yeah, you're
Jill just sort of looks at him and she's like, was your last name always Weird Bottle?
And he looks at you and he's like, I don't know, were you always so nosy?
Yes.
Yeah, well, it's none of your business, all right? We're not friends. And he turns and looks at Macaria, and he says...
Moments ago.
Right? So he looks at Macaria, and he says, so... And he clicks the latch, and he opens it, and there's a silk lining inside, and you see 4 identical little potion bottles. And let's see if there's an official description of what a potion of mind reading looks like. A dense purple liquid with an ovoid cloud of pink floating in it. So you see 4 of those, and he says, "Your special order, just like you asked." And he closes it.
Rin, before you close it, Rin, come here.
Yes.
are these what he claims they are? You would know better than I.
And he puts his hands up and he's like, Bane's balls, what are you saying? I'm trying to cheat you? I make good potions.
Well,
this is exactly what I promised your employers.
I just need to make sure. Right? I don't want them getting upset at me.
Listen, I've already been paid, so if you want this to take longer than it already has, fine. I don't care.
I'll take a look.
You want to eyeball him? Okay. Make an Arcana check.
I did.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, you have no idea what these are for. If someone hadn't said like potions of mind reading,
I turn to Macaria and I say, "Seems fine."
Great, wonderful.
Yeah.
Then we'll be going.
Well, I'll overlook the broken bottle and the insults to my professional integrity. And he snaps the thing closed and he pushes it across the table and he says, always a pleasure dealing with the Black Network.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, now get out of here. I got work to do.
And I like take the thing and like start walking out.
Okay.
Yes, definitely came here just for shopping, didn't you?
I mean, it's still shopping, even if it's not your own money.
What do you care if someone wants potions of mind reading?
I don't.
Anyway, Jewel, and like we're outside now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, walk back out into the trade.
I really clearly can't steal anything, or I have no dexterity if you're not helping me. So what happened in there? Thank you for all of your help.
You can still like
I need you.
She guidance.
She just like does this with her fingers.
She guidance to you so many times in the Temple of Gond that like you can still feel like this gross, like you need a shower. Like Death's hand still like it feels to you like a skeletal hand has pet you backwards several times.
It's the worst.
Oh no.
You're just like.
Well, that's my task done.
I mean, it's half.
Now
It's half your task done.
Well, no, I know.
Okay.
But that was the like less like I don't care if they know that I'm picking up potions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm going to get drunk. So if you wish to skedaddle, since you're all
I realize
down
that we are
fun.
still, and I draw out the like sensor thing that the Nimbleite detector, looking for a construct.
Oh, right. Did you have that on the whole time we were walking here or no?
No, but I'll turn it on now.
Does it just tell you which direction to go in or?
Pull the trigger on the, it's got like a lever, I guess.
Okay. So you squeeze it and like push a little, there's a knob that you turn and like clunk, clunk, and it like makes a weird popping sound and the umbrella snaps open and just sort of like starts turning slowly. Every like 10 seconds or so, the thing makes a clicking noise.
I assume that it will make more noise the closer we are to whatever it is we're looking for.
You don't think it might be in the yawning portal, do you? That would just be too great.
Let's start our search there.
All right. Fine. Let's go that way. I don't have another lead, so.
Okay. All right.
Fine.
Okay, so you have to be at the
Yeah, what she basically wants to like lose the group because like going into like shop and getting some potions is like no big deal, but like introducing members of Force Grey to like who knows who in like a weird like illicit meetup or whatever like is less cool.
So the god catcher is right here. I added it to the map for you. It's just north of the market.
Just north.
It's on the corner of Herd Lane and
oh, okay, yeah, I see it.
Yeah,
that's way far away from the yawning portal.
Yeah.
Well, at the very least, she can like try and sneak away. She'll probably do a horrible job, but she can try. So yeah, we go to the yawning portal first, and Macaria goes to buy a drink, and then like tries to like sneak out the back.
Okay.
Just gonna try and ditch us.
Yeah, let's have you make a stealth check, Macaria. Everybody else make just make it against their passive perception because nobody's like actively trying to make sure you don't leave.
9.
Okay, cool. So later at the around lunchtime at the yawning portal, you all see Macaria get up and be like, "I have to go to the little corpse's room. I'll be right back. And then just walks towards the front door.
Yeah.
She's clearly trying to ditch you.
All Jewel says is
about
she's
that-
like, you might want to practice.
Yeah. The amazing part about that is I'm reading, or so I've got like a little thing like still going on the table or what have you.
Yeah.
And I don't care.
Yeah, you
Whether
look up, you
she's
see it.
on, she could just walk away. If she walked away and never came back, it would make my life.
No, but she
so
thinks
much-
that she is so sneaky and important. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, she ditches, and if no one's gonna follow her, then she's just gonna go do what she has to do, right?
Okay.
What about 8? 8.
Yeah. What does 8 do when he?
No, 8
No,
doesn't
I
follow
didn't
her.
think so. She sneaks away. You all are like, yeah, we figured that, and then
Yeah,
like she
okay.
just goes to do her thing.
Yeah, 8 hasn't said a single word since he left the Temple of God.
Yeah. Yeah. He's processing.
I think there's a moment. I wanted to have this moment earlier, but we kind of just like moved through stuff. Where with this detector going on the table and my book open, like
Sure.
nobody
Yeah.
knows.
Let's not follow Makaria out.
sort of done that stuff. There's just like a moment of, when we find this thing, I'm not planning to destroy it, not unless it attacks me first. Like to 8, I just wanted to be out of there and that conversation and all of that. It just didn't seem like a good place to be.
I didn't like them.
I think I did a good job practicing restraint.
You did. Very
So
admirable.
good.
Honestly, I was trying to deflect, but she seemed very, very well, she seemed like she
Awful.
wanted you to do something bad. Let's just put it that way. Like, still reading. I haven't actually looked up while I'm talking.
Yeah.
It'll depend on what happens when we meet this thing.
Can we rescue Nim later? Like, how hard would that be?
From the temple? Difficult.
We could just set it all on fire.
Also,
I've already figured out how to pick that one lock.
Let's see. Is arson in the code legal? Let's see here.
I don't think it is actually.
It will be in the offense against the gods thing.
Oh yeah, offenses against the gods for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Burning down a temple.
Yeah.
Gond, the Temple of Gond is a big deal too because of all the mundane shit in the city that
I
they
feel like-
maintain.
I feel like there's a moment though where it's like, to be fair, the law's not really on our side on this one.
No, I suppose it's not.
I might be spending some more time there in the future.
Feel free if that's what you need to do, but I just don't let them treat you poorly, 8.
That is why we left our human masters, started a rebellion, and slaughtered hundreds, if not thousands of them, before I was brought here.
Fair enough. It's a large gap in my historical knowledge, but fair enough. Just like a little conversation.
Yeah, totally. Okay, cool. So let's let Makaria finish up what she needs doing. So Makaria, we cut to you, and you are in you're in the vicinity of the God Catcher. So the God Catcher is one of the many walking statues of Waterdeep, called such because at some point they were able to get up and walk around. In the past, like 100 years ago, there was some very bad things that happened when they all animated at once and were stomping around the city. This one was stopped when Kelvin Blackstaff turned the ground underneath it to mud. So when you come to it, you find it is sunk up to, it's an enormous, like colossal statue, and it is sunk up to like its thighs in like concrete. It looks like the concrete that was wet and then solidified. Now, all of its body seems like it's been hollowed out. And there are areas that are open, and there are walkways leading to other buildings, and people live inside this enormous statue now. So its hand is holding, like it's got its hand out, and there's like a house on its hand with a walkway down its wrist. Its mouth is open, and there's like light and smoke coming from its eyes from people's chimneys. And it's wearing on its back like a big cluster of buildings. And so we find yourself on that corner outside of it. Kind of looking up at this enormous, inert walking statue, the God
How
Catcher.
many 8s tall is it?
I'm not sure exactly how tall the
Well,
god.
it's several houses tall at least,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
Wow. So I'm just like, huh.
The walking statues of Waterdeep. Let's see. I mean, they're like huge, like biggest giants huge.
Wow.
Yeah, if you had to fight one, their stats, they're gargantuan, which I think is the
Mhm.
biggest thing a D&D monster can be. So he's enormous. But he's inert. He's asleep. Yeah.
And where was it that I was supposed to meet this person? Just around?
Yeah, so
it?
you're looking around, and I think you hear a whistle. You hear somebody like whistle to you. You're supposed to look for the lady in the purple cloak, but you hear a whistle, and you look, and the whistle, there's a carriage, like a hire coach, and it's sitting there, and the driver is looking at you, and he's waving. So there's like a big black horse, and this like kind of, it's not fancy, but it's like one of the ones you could just hire in the city.
And Makaria does that thing where she looks behind her.
Yeah, and he's like, no, come here.
And she walks up like slowly, like one doesn't just summon me like this, but still like,
Yeah.
So.
Okay. All right. So you walk over, and the window, the little like curtain opens in the window as you get closer, and inside you see a woman. She has dusky skin. She's wearing a beautiful purple cloak. She has like a leather corset and like slashed sleeves. She's dressed in like expensive looking like fine clothes, but not like noble frippery. Like it looks like her little like corset thing would actually protect her. Like it comes up like to her neck.
Okay.
And and she looks at you, and she says, "Makaria, I presume."
Yes. And I think I should know better than to ask your name. I have what Davil told me to bring you.
And she says, "Good." And she like, "Just give it to me. Give it here."
And Makaria holds out an empty hand.
And she squints like she's tasted something like bad, and she says, "That's not how it works, girl."
Oh, you'll have to excuse me. This is my first time. I won't be handing it over until I get paid. Thank you.
She shakes her head like she's disappointed, and she reaches down, she takes out a coin purse, and she says, "I expected better.
Well, then maybe you should lower your expectations.
Or I can find someone else to work with." And she
so you'll be abandoning Davil because of my...
She throws the bag of coins to you.
I grab it
Okay.
and then like take out of my like whatever, like the box with the potions. Like,
Okay.
Here.
She takes it. She opens it, looks inside, looks at the 4 bottles, closes it, and then just like draws the curtain.
Rude.
And then you hear thunk thunk as she like taps the inside of the curve, and it takes off. You have to step back.
Do I
avoid getting
recognize like anything about like her, what she's wearing, or the like the coach or whatever? Like, is there
The
anything?
coach was just like a cab, like a yellow cab,
Oh, okay.
basically.
Right.
You've never seen this woman before in your life.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fine.
But you
she's
have-
just rude to me.
You have
How
coins
dare.
now. So
I look in the bag to like see if I've
Yeah.
I don't know how much I was supposed to get, but like
there are 15 platinum pieces in this bag.
hot damn, I could buy so much alcohol with that.
Yeah, you could. It's true. Or
Yeah.
contribute to opening the bar. So yeah, I think that's our last shot, right? Is like Makaria's pouty face. She like yanks the bag open and looks inside, and you're like wide eyes and the platinum pieces inside, and then we fade out, and that's our episode. Man, they fly by normally, but a 3-hour episode is just like done. But you got a lead, and now you have the nimble right detector, which is going to be very useful in the future for finding nimble rights. Cool. Thanks for coming, everybody. Let's say our goodbyes. We'll be back week Friday, I think, is our next show.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so we'll be back again on the 16th with more Dragon Heist, but definitely come back on regular Friday, because all day there's going to be GameholeCon content right here on this channel, so don't miss that. if you are finding yourself in need of some D&D stuff on the weekend. Let's start with Rin, aka Distracted Elf. Where can people find you on the internet, Rin?
It's me. Hello, I'm Distracted Elf. You can find me at twitch.tv/distractedelf or on Twitter @distractedelf. Those are the places. That's the internet stuff. Okay,
Excellent.
done.
Nice work. Down below, Random Tuesday. Where can people find you on the internet, Lauren?
You can find me at Random Tuesday, or you can also find me at my other RPG homes, Geek Space TV and Roll For It, if you want more sweet, sweet RPG content.
And who doesn't? Seriously.
I know, right?
More RPGs. Over here, there, it's Dave. Dave?
Hello. Speaking of more content, you should come back tomorrow to see myself, Alf, and Adam doing some Pathfinder stuff on the Roll20 app. But for me personally, I'm on Twitter at Dave_the_human, and I'm on Twitch at Dave_human, where I'll be starting up a playthrough of something tomorrow. So check that out if you like.
Excellent. That's exciting. Cool. Last but not least, Makari Arata. It's Blue Jay.
Hi. Most times you can find me at twitch.tv/bluejay or on Twitter at bluejay_712. If you are also like the followers of the Tuesday, yearning for more sweet, sweet roleplay content, everything I've ever been in is on bluejay.tv/portfolio, some of which was with Lauren. And all of these nerds, lots of playing with my friends. So yeah, thanks for watching.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. This has been episode number 9 of Roll20 Presents Waterdeep Dragon Heist. And if this is your first episode, you can go back and watch all of our previous episodes on our YouTube channel, MS Roll20. And we'll be back in a week and a half to continue the adventure. Now, some folks have been asking about what we're going to be doing after this. We'll be carrying on when we finish Dragon Heist into Mad Mage, but we're not going to do the whole thing. We just want to give you a taste of Mad Mage. We'll have more information about what'll come after that in the future, but this will be the thing we're doing for a little while. We've got some more heisting to do, so don't worry. Lots more episodes of this. Thanks for coming, everybody. We will see you next time. Bye, y'all.